Maps and stuff, so what all we got.
All right, you're live.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and start our pre-meeting. Got a few cases to go over, then we've got a couple of things that are not on the agenda that I want to talk about afterwards.
All right, the first item is going to be rezoning 1389. This is the one that was tabled last month, and the applicant was asked to come back this month, provide a few more pieces of information, and that the decision would be made this month. Because of that, you'll see on your comments, the zoning committee didn't vote again and just left it where it stood from the month before. So are there any questions on this one or the procedure on this one? Yes.
Did they submit a new petition?
They will have a new petition today. They were provided one that the planning department made for them that clearly defined all of the uses that are permitted in a B2 zoning and what the change from B1 to B2 would be. He's had that petition and he's been circulating it, and he has said that he'll have a new copy of that for y'all today, as well as he was working on getting some community support.
But even though the zoning committee didn't vote on it again, it still stands as the original vote from the zoning committee.
Because since it was just tabled from last time, there was no action needed from the zoning committee on this one, and everything from the previous month still stands as it relates to this case.
The zoning committee recommends to deny the request.
All right, the next item is rezoning 1392. This is at 511 19th Avenue, right across from the Hyosung plant, the old Goodyear plant there. It's just after that turn where you start heading south on 19th. They are asking similarly to go from B1 to B2, and their stated purpose was a bar and grill type restaurant use, and asking for the change to the B2 for alcohol reasons.
Which, I don't know if all of you have been by there, but it's a commercial type building on that property. It may have been a restaurant years ago, maybe, or something
It
like that.
was.
It was a
At
restaurant?
one time, yes.
Long time ago, though, right?
Yeah, oh yes, 20 years ago.
Yeah. I'm not quite that old. So.
Right.
But isn't it
Are you
right there in the neighborhood? But
Yes,
isn't that
ma'am.
right there in
Was
the
this the
neighborhood?
only comment
Right there on the
received?
corner.
That was the only
Okay.
comment specifically that we received, and then we were going to see if any members of the public showed up to speak for or against that one at this meeting today. And this one, the zoning committee was not in favor of this one. Again, same reasons, all the other uses that are allowed in B2 if this change were to be made.
But isn't that B2 2 blocks south of there?
There is a small little B2 there on the corner, I believe.
That's what
Yes,
this is.
that little piece right there on the corner was given a B2 zoning at some point in the past.
But it's all residential, right?
Yeah, it's surrounded.
By residents. Okay.
No, isn't that block north is not residential?
Yeah, well, it's a vacant lot, it's a vacant lot to the north of it, then, that is some commercial. Can't remember the name of that business.
I can't remember the name of that one either.
Is that part of M&J right there, maybe?
Maybe so.
I think it is, yeah.
The comment that we received was the next door neighbor directly to the west.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
okay.
What's in that building now? Anything?
You know, it has a sign on there, and when I went by, there was a car in the parking lot, but I couldn't tell there was any kind of business operating in it.
Yeah, I don't think there's currently a business operating at the location.
So, just to be clear, if it stayed B1, they could serve wine and beer? Or only off-premises wine
Off-premise,
and beer?
off-premise wine and beer is the only alcohol sales allowed in
In
AB1.
B1, okay,
Yes.
And it could not be a grill,
okay.
you know. It could be a convenience store, but Not a bar.
If they wish to sell alcohol, it would have to be for off-premise sales, so
Okay.
like a convenience store type.
Okay.
But they could still have a restaurant.
Okay.
Is there any other questions on that one? All right, the next case is rezoning 1393. This is 311 Austinville Road, and looking to go from R2 to R6. And this was, all members of the zoning committee were in favor of this one. So this is, they're on the corner of Kerridale and Austinville, that white house that's been for sale on the corner for several years now at this point. They're looking to basically just mirror the townhomes that are currently surrounding them.
About to say, this will match up with the existing establishment.
Yes,
Right-
and
Right there at it.
talking with the engineer, and they'll be able to provide some more context at the planning commission meeting. It looks like they're gonna be they're trying to fit 9, maybe 10. They're still working on the lot lines and seeing how they can fit it in, but it'll settle somewhere between 9 and 10 townhomes is what they would be able to fit on this property. It's hampered by its odd shape. And so because of that, there will also be some common area that's reserved in that little weird triangle shaped area on the Austinville side. But like I said, the engineer's supposed to be here today, and they'll be able to give more
How would they
context.
go into this support?
They would use the existing alley system.
The alley?
So by zoning, townhomes located on streets that are classified as collector or above, which this one is, this is a minor arterial, they cannot have direct driveway access to the roadway, and all access has to be from alleys in the rear.
Okay.
Which this one, that was another thing that the developer stated they found so attractive of this lot was it has that alley already there, and so it's not gonna be hard for them to comply with that stipulation in our zoning.
Now, is Kerridale a collector?
Kerridale is a minor arterial, and so is
Austinville. Oh,
Austinville.
they're
They're both minor arterials.
The city does have traffic counters installed on both ends of Kerridale right now, which that data's not gonna be available for us. But it is something that the city is gathering new data on traffic counts now.
Any other questions on that one?
There was a hand raised out there, but
Okay, just to explain, this is a pre-meeting just for us. The public hearing will start at 3:30, and that's when we'll get your comments and questions.
We're just never early for anything, so.
Yeah.
You know, we know what to
I should have explained that in the beginning, I'm sorry I didn't. But yeah, this part is just for us to get our questions answered, then, yeah.
It's a chance for them to ask the staff and get technical aspects, zoning questions, those kind of things taken care of upfront. Mhm. All right, any other questions on that? Yes, ma'am.
I will go ahead and say, though, if you wish to speak in the other, there's a sign-up sheet out front, right? Yes. Yeah,
There's a table out.
then
yes,
put your
outside.
name and address on that if you want to speak.
So
Okay.
we just had the one comment on this.
Let's see.
Charles
Yeah, the one
Kirby.
email comment.
Yeah,
Yes, that's the only official, a lot of these will get calls and emails asking questions, but if they don't provide a comment saying they're for or against or any reasons or anything, they're not included. If they're just calling to ask information, we don't include them. So we've had more calls about this, but they were all just asking questions, not really providing any statements.
okay, thank you.
So on this one, about this property here, the comment is stated that it's unsafe due to heavy traffic. Does the individual that submitted this, have they done any studies or have any detail or data to back up sort of?
No, it was just anecdotal, so,
Okay.
no.
And you do have traffic counts for us on this, right?
We have what Aldot has provided, and currently their data ranges for all the years from 2014 to 2020 is what's available on their website right now, which is what we go off of. And so, yes, we do have that data. The highest count in that range, and I'm just remembering off the top of my head, I'll verify this for you before the meeting. 2016 was 8,700 approximately, and that was the highest count that was observed. And since then, we've trended kind of downwards on that one. The 2020, I know there were some questions about that. So the 2019 shows 8,300, down from, like I said, a high of 8,700 in 2016.
Is that Austinville Road?
That's Kerridale.
That's Kerridale.
Yes. Okay, and you're gonna provide that in the public hearing?
Yes, I believe engineering is going to be prepared to speak on that if.
Okay.
You
if
know what
asked.
it's rated for?
It is a minor arterial, and so the capacity on that roadway is 17,800 a day. So at 8,300, you're less than half of the design capacity for the roadway.
Any other questions? Okay.
All right, the next item is rezoning 1394. This is for the Windchase Townhome Community Owners Association. This is on Hempstead Avenue. So last month, there was a item for a certificate to divide and create this lot. It's where their tennis courts sit currently. The homeowners association has decided that the tennis courts are not needed, and so they are looking to sell this property for patio home development to match what's directly to the north of them now. And so that before they can plat those, they have to do this rezoning step, which they're looking for R50, which is our patio home zero lot line. And that, like I said, matches the rest of that block there directly to the north of them. And they'll be able to fit 3 patio home lots on this property. And so once the rezoning has completed, then they'll bring a plat to create those lots before this body.
Any questions?
You receive any comments from anybody in the area on this one? Okay,
Not on that one, no.
okay.
And like I said, it's the actual Townhome Owners Association who's requesting this, and the indication has been given that it's what the neighborhood is in favor of. So
Okay.
unless someone shows up to tell us any different,
Okay.
that's. The next one is rezoning 1395. This is on South Highway 31, there right before you get to the Ford dealership. And Mr. Parker is looking to expand his current veterinary practice that's on the property. This is a odd case where the property's basically divided in half, and the front half has a B1 zoning and the back half has a R1 zoning. Because of that, he can't build his new building because it'll be in that R1 section. It's just a weird quirk of our zoning. And so, talking with the planning department and with the applicant, trying to decide what would be best for him, not only for his project, but looking forward as well, it was determined that to ask for a B2 zoning. If you'll see, all around it is B2 and M1, and it's an odd little pocket of B1 isolated there. And so, in talking with the applicant, B2 is what is being asked for, which will allow for his use and also be more fitting with the corridor that it's on. It's a pretty firmly B2 corridor.
Which the veterinarian clinic would go into B1 though, but it just won't fit the.
Yes, yes, a veterinarian clinic is allowed in a B1. It's a professional clinic, and so that is allowed in B1. But like I said, you know, a lot of times when we're looking at these, we have to consider down the road, you know, future uses. And B2, like I said, is more fitting for what this corridor is. And so that's what the ask is going to be, which again, it will allow a veterinarian clinic in B2. B2 is our most expansive, allows most commercial uses.
And that's what we talked about in the first two cases too,
Mm-hmm.
was the B2.
Yeah.
Any other
This
questions?
is just one where the single piece of property has two zoning districts on it, which is not, I mean, it's not common, but it's not uncommon either.
Are there any other questions on that one? All right, the next item is the Ridge Phase 2 minor plat. This is on Modus Road, and it is the Holland property there next to the Austin High School. Basically just changing the lot line where the current lot line is, just redrawing the line between the two existing properties. On this one, the conditions, we need a drainage/topo map. We need the fees for the APO letters, a copy of the deed, and then engineering will have to give final sign off on this one.
Any questions?
The next one is Kerridale Commons minor plat. This one is at 809 Kerridale. This is the plat for the rezoning that was recently completed there at the old Decatur florist site. And this is to plat it for the townhomes that it was given the zoning for. The conditions on this one, we need a drainage topo map. This one will have to have engineering sign off before final approval is given. And the last condition is that sewer will need to be extended to service lots 8 through 11. It currently stops at lot 7 of what's shown on the map. So it's going to need to be extended over to cover lots 8 through 11, and field work is going to need to be done, need to be completed to verify that they can be served by sewer. Point of information other than the normal relocation of utilities is a certificate of occupancy will be held on all of these properties until the sidewalks are installed along Kerridale.
Which I'm sure everybody knows that, you know, sidewalks are just part of subdivision, that you have to put them in.
It's required by our subdivision regulations, and so in this case, like I said, the townhomes can be built, but they cannot be given a certificate of occupancy by the building department until those sidewalks are completed and inspected and accepted by the city.
And this sewer extension will be a developer.
Yes, the developer will be responsible for that cost, yes. And another thing to notice on this one is there is right-of-way being dedicated for this on this plat. There will be more right-of-way that is dedicated along Kerridale, also along Cara, and then a little bit is also being given to the alleyway as well.
So the entrances will be.
The entrances will be through the alley. Again, the situation with our townhomes where collector or above, they cannot directly access, so they have to access from an alley in the rear. Which again, this one already has an existing alley, and so they're able to use the existing alley there. So all all entrance and exit will be to the alley and to Cara.
Or spring, right?
Or, I believe, yes, it goes out the other direction too, but yes. Any other questions on that one? All right, the next one is Holland Meadow subdivision preliminary plat. This is at 3411 Deer Road. This is, so a previous plat was already given on this one when the entire property was townhomes. And it came back and a rezoning was done to change the outer perimeter to R5 patio homes. The R6 was retained in the middle, you can see from your map there. And so this is to basically update the preliminary plat with the new zoning and the patio homes on the perimeter. The center stays what was already approved, the townhome lots. And all streets are staying in the same, the street configuration is staying the same from the previously approved plat as well. And the engineering is gonna need final sign off on this one, and a 20-foot sewer easement is gonna be needed between lots 33 and 34. That's where the sewer comes into the neighborhood from down at Point Mallard Parkway there.
So in the upper left of the subject area, is that a natural pond that's there, or is that a retention pond that's there?
That'll be the detention for the subdivision. I'm not sure if there's current pond back there. I think there might be.
Yeah,
There is a
looks
small
like-
pond,
so-
but that's where the detention will be.
Detention will go.
So the pond will more than likely be enlarged
Okay.
from what it currently is, and that'll be the detention for the subdivision. Are there any other questions on that one? All right, the next one is certificate 3573. This is 3824 South Chapel Hill Road. It's changing lot lines between two parcels and just kind of redrawing the current lot lines. Conditions on this one, we need recording fees, a signed sealed survey with 3 state plane coordinates, and some of the bearings on the plat that were given to us don't match the legal description, so those need to be corrected. And then there is a point of information on this one that tract 3 will not have sewer access unless the sewer main is extended over to the property. Are there any questions on that one? All right, the next is site plan 637. This is for Steel Technologies, 3301 Mallard Fox Drive Northwest. Conditions on this one, per engineering approval, and show the sewer easement on the west side of the property. And so this one's a kind of odd. Their engineer's been Johnny on the spot for us, and he's already got these conditions met. So y'all will be placing them, but we already have plans in hand where those have been met. It's just a formality to place them. And then we have new plan sets, so they'll be ready to go upon this approval. This is a addition that they're doing out there. And because it is such a large addition, it required the site plan come back through. Sometimes if it's a small enough addition, it can be done administratively. This one was just a little bit too large so it needed to come for this body's approval. All right, the next is an annexation 368. This is looking to annex 6.4 acres on McIntyre Lane. And the stated purpose, what the applicant has told us, is they're wanting sewer access. It's an existing business that's been operating there for several years at this point, and they are wishing to annex in to be able to tap onto the sewer.
Any questions?
All right, and the last item on this agenda is Annexation 369. This is 2319 Old Moulton Road Southwest. This is just south of the literal lumber mill there, pretty much everything from the lumber mill down to the belt line. This was recently sold by the Littrell family, and a developer has purchased it and is looking to come into the city.
Neither of these were pre-zoned.
So yes, after the annexation of both of these, we'll have to go through the zoning step. Those will come to you, probably on next month's agenda.
Any questions on any of these applications?
I want some clarification. I'm a little confused on the first two that are going to B2. They're all commercial, and then the third one that's also going to commercial. What's the Technical Review Committee says no on 2 and 1 on yes. I'm just wondering why were they no's? What triggers that?
Basically, the feeling from the zoning committee on both of those first two was similar. They are neighborhood commercial B1. And they're surrounded by residential. And the trepidation on these is always all of the other uses that B2 allows that B1 does not. There are a lot of uses that would not be conducive to a neighborhood commercial zone. I know the one that comes up a lot is used car lots. That's allowed in B2, not in B1. And a lot of times it comes down to, like I said, just kind of not what the use they're requesting, because there may not be, an issue with the use they're requesting. It's what else could go in a B2 if.
Yeah, and the big difference to me, Eddie, is that the first two are truly B1s that are in a neighborhood and surrounded by R. This other is a B1 surrounded by B2s.
Yeah.
So really, to me, the B1 is out of place on the third one.
And it's a weird
Follow
little.
me, it's already
It's a
surrounded by
weird little.
B2 or M1, so it sort of makes sense that it would be a B2, because everything connected to it is B2.
But there's B2 in the pictures on both of the other ones
Right.
in the area. I mean, if it,
In the area, but not connected to it.
they're pretty close.
Yeah.
On 13.
But they,
On 1392-22,
Yes.
yeah.
could they not accomplish what they're wanting to accomplish with a use permitted on the field?
So the only alcohol sales that are allowed in a B1 are off-premise beer and wine.
Okay.
So a convenience store basically that sells beer and wine would be an allowable alcohol sales use in that zone.
But they could do a restaurant there, just no alcohol sales.
No alcohol sales, yes.
But
A
the
restaurant
is on appeal.
is on appeal in that
That's
zone.
what I'm saying.
Yes. Which, leads to a conversation about the zoning rewrite that has been discussed. And it seems that we're seeing this more and more, this request. And so,
Which I would agree, and I think that's kind of where it needs to go, because if we're hesitant on switching to the B2 because what B2 encompasses, then let's make the B1 accommodate what.
Well, there's two things I want to add to the agenda for our hearing. And one is that we discuss this B1 and give the planning department some guidance, and of course it'd have to go to council too, that in the new rewrite, we call this neighborhood
commercial is
Commercial.
what it's going to be.
that
going
it
forward.
does allow this in the neighborhood commercial.
The current rewrite.
The
the
current
current
rewrite,
rewrite.
yes.
Or if the commission wants to proceed before that, but we will have, I'm proposing that we have a discussion on that.
Yeah.
To where we allow in B1 or neighborhood that on-premise alcohol sales are allowed, whether they're allowed or whether they're conditioned or permission.
Going to.
But we'll have that
yeah.
discussion.
It
And then the
sound-
other thing is also on, we constantly get this, that we don't give enough notification and that our sign that we place out for zoning is not large enough. So I want us to have a little discussion on, about what we do, what we're required to do, and what this commission would like to see done. So those are two things that we'll take up after the rest of the agenda that we've already gone through. Anybody have any comments or questions about that?
So if a B1 to B2 request was denied today, and then the zoning rewrite changes what can go in there, then that applicant could come back under the new
Well, it
zoning?
depends on how it changed. If it changed to allowed, they wouldn't even have to come back.
Oh, they would just automatically
It'd
have,
just be
okay.
allowed.
Okay.
But if it was a permission on appeal, then they would have to go to Boza.
Both, okay.
Well, and you can't rely on that though for your votes today because the rewrite still has to go through public comment. And so all of these things, depending on that public comment period, could be subject to change.
May or may not.
You know, we have to get an ordinance that can be passed by this body and the council. And so a big part of that's going to be the public comment meetings and public comment period. And if there's a large enough public backlash against that proposal, that's something that is subject to get stripped out of it. So it's just a proposal that we would like to explore, and it sounds like the commission would
Yeah.
be in favor of exploring that, so.
And Mr. Terry made a good comment there that we don't vote today based on that.
Right.
That's just something else that's gonna be on our discussion in other business.
We have a ballpark time frame on the rewrite?
We are meeting with the consultant on Thursday, and we'll be nailing down a firm timeline on completion of the final comments that were sent to them, as well as the timeline for getting public feedback and getting a public meeting together and getting us an idea of when we're gonna be looking for adoption. Our current hope is by the end of summer, hopefully. We were shooting for end of July, and I'm still hoping we might be able to make that deadline. It might be August, September at this point. It's all kind of on the consultant at this point, and, they have multiple clients, so they have to fit us into their schedule, and then have to schedule time to be on site for the public meeting.
Okay.
So we're hopeful by the end of summer, definitely by the end of the fiscal year. September 30th is kind of a hard deadline for us. Our budget for this project runs out, and I hope to not have to ask for it again in next year's budget.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, we'll start at 3:30 then. Okay, this being the time and place for our regular scheduled April 2022 Planning Commission meeting, I would like to call us to order. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lawrence,
Here.
Commissioner Borden,
Here.
Commissioner Tate,
Here.
Commissioner Pepper, Commissioner Wynn. Here. Commissioner Temple,
Here.
Commissioner Burrows,
Here,
Commissioner Culpepper,
Here.
Commissioner Pike.
Here.
Okay, we do have a quorum. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes from February now, not March, February minutes that you received?
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
A motion by Mr. Borden, second by Mrs. Tate. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, those minutes are approved. Okay, I'd like to take a moment and introduce the Planning Commission members and give a brief description of what we do and how this meeting is conducted. The commission has 9 members. 8 of us are volunteers appointed by the mayor for a 6-year term. We also have 1 member from the city council. My name is Kent Lawrence. Our vice chairman is Gary Borden. Our secretary is Dan Culpepper. Other members are Francis Tate, Forrest Temple, Myrna Burrows, Joseph Wynn, and Eddie Pike. Hunter Pepper is our council member, and he's not here today. Members of the public seeking to get an item considered by the Planning Commission must send an application to the Planning Department not less than 21 days prior to the meeting. Unless otherwise specified, all applications for development approval are the results of submittals by a private citizen seeking some change to their own property. In making our decision, a primary tool used by the Planning Commission is the One Decatur Comprehensive Plan. This is the general community plan for the city of Decatur and was adopted through a public process to formalize a vision for the future of the community that represents the interests and the will of the Decatur residents. In many of these cases, the Planning Commission does not have final say. Zonings, annexations, vacations, sidewalk cafe license, and resolutions all require additional approval by the city council before they become official. In these cases, the role of the Planning Commission is to advise the city council. The first part of today's meeting is a public hearing in which which each case will be read separately and voted on after comments and discussions. If you wish to comment on an item, we ask that you come forward to the podium, state your name and address, and then make your comments. We ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less, and we will have a timer. You'll hear a bell ring or a timer go off when your 3 minutes are up. Today's public hearing will have these type requests. Rezoning. This is a change to the current zoning of a property to a different zoning. The commission will vote to recommend or not recommend the zoning change to the city council. If an applicant wishes to go to the city council without a recommendation from the planning commission, they should notify the planning department via email or in writing tomorrow. Minor plats. This is a plat that have more than 3 lots, direct access to public services, and a topo provided for review. And then preliminary plats. This is the second step of the subdivision process and will have construction plans included. All right. Please read the first. And let me also say this: after the case that you're here for, after it's heard, you're free to leave at that time if you'd like. Like I said, we want to hear from everybody. Remember, you got 3 minutes, and we ask that you don't repeat something that's already been said. But you know, your comments are important to us. Please read the first case.
All right, the first case, this is an item that was tabled at last month's meeting and is being brought back this month. It is rezoning 1389-22. It is 0.33 acres, currently zoned B1 Local Shopping District. The applicant is Ben Hampton for Mike Aziz. The location is 1201 Moulton Street West. The request is to rezone 0.33 acres from B1 to B2. and the new zone would be B2, general business. Proposed land use is commercial, a package store. The one Decatur future land use is urban edge, mixed use. The one Decatur street typology, Moulton Street West, is a principal arterial. Comments from the zoning committee. The committee didn't vote again this month as it was reviewed the previous month and tabled at the planning commission. But just to remind, the committee was not in favor of the request due to concerns over what other uses could be allowed in B2. The applicant was encouraged to get signatures on a new petition that includes information about the allowable B2 uses, and also encouraged to get neighbors to speak at the planning commission on his behalf. The planning department did provide this petition with this new language as requested by this body, and Mr. Hampton will provide this document at the meeting.
Hey, the one thing I would say about the encouraging for a new petition was the petition that we received last month didn't really spell out what all was in B2. So our comment, or my comment, was that if we were gonna look at that petition, it needed to spell out really what all B2 encompassed. And that's why we asked for a new petition. Okay, is there anyone from the public that would like to speak to this request? Yes, ma'am. Come forward, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Kathy Sykes Porter. My resident is 113 12th Avenue Northwest. I've been there 53 years. I am 10 feet away from the building that he's trying to, and I agree on. I'm 10 feet away from where he's trying to get.
Okay, and you said you're okay?
Oh, yes, we fine. And half my neighbors, all the neighbors is fine with it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, my name is Tracy Steele. I stay at 501 Memorial Drive, and I approve of him having the store. Thank you.
Let me sort of throw this in here. When you come and say you approve, you're not, I just want to make sure everybody understands this. You're not just saying it's okay for him to have a liquor license there. You're okay with that being rezoned to B2 that could sell used cars, that could be a nightclub, that could be an auto repair shop, could be any of those things at this location. Okay.
Hello, my name is Samantha Johnson. I stay at 218 12th Avenue Southwest. I'm like, I guess like three buildings, well, 3 houses away. So it's no problem because we have a bar across the street, and it's really no issue. So I don't think it'd be an issue with that because we already have a bar. Caddy is like directly across the street from it. So, and he's a pretty good guy. I've been knowing him for a while, so I think he's not one of the riffraff, so.
All right, thank you.
My name is Erica Powell, and I own a business 2 blocks over at 911 West Moulton Street, and I'm in agreement with it being rezoned and open for, new ideas, new business coming on our block. I'm excited.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rodney Gordon, and I have a business on 1416 West Moulton Street, and I'm fully aware of the difference in the zoning, but I have no problem with the package store being placed there, for the simple fact, again, that this store would be delivering. This store in District 1, we don't have any package stores. You gotta go to Highway 24 or the Beltline or 6th Avenue. But this can potentially take a drunk driver off the road. Not only could take drunk driver off the road, it may eliminate fatalities. Cause a drunk driver can come from over there, go into the Beltline and run into your child, maybe run into you. So I'm fully aware, and he has 100% behind the package store. Thank you.
doing today?
Good.
My name is Tara D. Golson. I live at 403 13th Avenue Northwest. I'm all for it, for the rezoning of B2, because right now we don't really have anything over here in the Northwest section. We only have a restaurant, a bar, grill, barbecue stand. So I'm looking forward for us to have some new ideas and new different things over there in the section. It would be real nice to upgrade it a little bit. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Kerry Wiggins. I'm the owner of 1211 West Morgan, which is next door to 1201. And I approve of the rezoning from B1 into a B2. Thinking something should be done.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
New petition. Ben Hampton, 1214 Arbor Avenue, Southwest. I just wanted to reiterate, we're not gonna be able to, appease or everybody's not gonna be on board with every idea that's brought, before you guys. But I think the support for is, vastly over, far more than the support that's against, or whoever it may be against. I hadn't talked to anyone personally outside of some opinions, but no one dead set on, no, you shouldn't do it, no, you shouldn't do it. I think the community is from me speaking to going door to door, house to house, I think that the community is definitely behind me on this. I understand the committee's view about what can happen if I'm not there or if I sell the property and things like that. So I'm fully aware. I just hope I'm not, I hope I'm not held accountable for what, could possibly happen that may never happen, 10 or 15 or 20 years down the road. So I just, ask that, the board take that into consideration as well. And I appreciate y'all, hearing me again. I know y'all probably tired of seeing me, but I appreciate you guys hearing me again.
Mr. Hampton, you brought the petition, right?
Yes, sir.
Could you kind of tell us what's on it?
Well, I got it from the planning commission, so it entails what's all in the B2 zone, things that can be allowed, car lots, nightclubs, et cetera, et cetera. So the new petition entails all of what can be allowed in that new zone. It should be highlighted up toward the top of the page.
Thank you.
I want to make one comment about what you said, you being held accountable. It's really not holding you accountable. If we rezone this, it wouldn't have anything to do with you, what would come after you left if you closed your business and sold that. That wouldn't hold you accountable. It would actually be holding the city accountable because we're the one that would be rezoning it to where something else could be there.
Understood.
How many signatures do you have?
I got around 200.
I see, unless there's another page, there's
Yes,
100.
there's a page.
Okay, who's got the,
I have 120.
yeah, 200.
Okay.
200.
Some pages are not complete.
They may not be
Oh,
in
yeah,
order.
some are not. So, say 160 to 200 names
Roughly.
here altogether.
So how many of these are within a 2 or 3 block area of where you want to open this business?
Maybe half of them are in the 2 to 3 block area, not all of them, obviously, because if you're familiar with the area of the store, there's not that many, I went door to door a lot of, and, I grew up there, but now, there's a large Hispanic community, right, in that area as well that I couldn't really, get past the language barrier with a few people, so, there's not very many people that's gonna be directly, right there, adjacent to the store.
Anybody else wish to speak? Okay, there being no further public comments, do we have a motion to
Motion for
recommend?
approval?
We have a motion.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Pike, second by Mr. Borton. Any comments or questions from anyone on the commission?
My comments are the same from last month, It's not about whether you have a business or not. It's about what is available in B2 and how would it impact the neighborhood. That's what we're responsible for. It has nothing to do with anybody, but we are responsible for making sure that these neighborhoods are kept in good order, and we cannot allow anything that would detriment a neighborhood. So those are my comments.
Any others? Okay, please call the roll.
Commissioner Lawrence,
No.
Commissioner Borden,
No.
Commissioner Tate,
No?
Commissioner Wynn,
Yes.
Commissioner Temple,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrows,
No.
Commissioner Culpepper,
Yes.
Commissioner Pike,
Yes.
Okay, that's a 4-4 vote, which does not have a majority, so it does not. I'm correct on my math, right? It was 4 and 4.
that's what I got.
That's right, okay. So then it will not be recommended to the council. We'll take a majority. And I'll just say I'm the same as Ms. Tate. Nothing against you, Mr. Hampton. I just don't feel like this is the proper use of that property at this time.
And just to let you know, we need it by, if you would like to go to the council without a recommendation, we'll need to know by tomorrow because of having to advertise. What now?
I would like, can I let you know now? I would like
Okay?
I have a question. Like, for this B2 zoning that puts legal businesses here, and we open it up a drugstore, and it's like a car lot, something that's a legal business, what would be the difference if it was a car lot, a mechanic shop, a liquor store? It's a business that brings revenue to this city, or to that side of town, which don't have no revenue with a bunch of condemned buildings.
Well, the difference is the zoning, B1 is what's called a neighborhood. It's for things that are, go together with residential, not things that are more high traffic, or really not just high traffic, just different things. And the two zonings spell out what are allowed. And that's just the zoning regulation spells that out.
I'm trying to.
Okay, and we voted already. I'll be glad to answer any of your questions after the meeting.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that's fine. And I'm just saying, Mr. Wiggins, we'll be glad to answer any of your questions about that after the meeting. I'll be glad to talk to you about it.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
All right. The next item is rezoning 1392-22. This is 0.19 acres, currently zoned B1 Local Shopping District. The applicant is Erica Powell. The location is 511 19th Avenue Southeast. The request is to rezone 0.19 acres from B1 to B2. The new zone would be B2 General Business. Proposed land use is commercial, a bar and grill. The One Decatur future land use is core neighborhood. The One Decatur street typology, 19th Avenue Southeast, is a minor arterial. Comments from the zoning committee. The zoning committee was not in favor of this request.
Anyone from the public wish to speak to this request? Okay, we have no public comments. Do we have a motion to recommend?
Motion for approval?
Second. A motion by Mr. Pike, second by Mr. Temple. Any questions or comments from anyone on the commission? Okay, please call the roll.
Commissioner Lawrence,
No?
Commissioner Borden,
No.
Commissioner Tate,
No?
Commissioner Wynn,
No.
Commissioner Temple,
No.
Commissioner Burrows,
No.
Commissioner Culpepper,
No.
Commissioner Pike,
Yes.
Okay, that is a 7-1, not to be recommended to the council. Okay, next case, please.
Next item is rezoning 1393-22. It is 2 acres. currently zoned R2 Single Family Residential. The applicant is Aspen Properties. The location is 311 Austinville Road Southwest. The request is to rezone 2 acres from R2 to R6. The new zone would be R6 Single Family Semi-Attached Townhomes. The proposed land use would be townhomes. One Decatur future land use is core neighborhood, and One Decatur street typology, Austinville Road is a minor arterial. Comments from the zoning committee. All zoning committee members were in favor of this request.
Okay, anyone from the public that wishes to speak to this request? I'll remind you that you have 3 minutes.
I need a little ledge up here on the podium. My stuff always falls down. We have some informational handouts.
Okay, if you would start with your name and address, please.
Yes. My name is Andrea Hoffmeyer Wilson, and I live at 1306 Kerridale Street. There you go. If you could pass those down, I'd appreciate it. So again, I'm at 1306 Kerridale Street, and we are really happy to see that we're going to get some updated traffic data. I actually am very aware of it because the meters changed to our mailbox, so it's pretty exciting for us. But what I'd like to do here is just introduce you to a group that we have gathered here. Because we have some questions about what's going on with this rezoning. It's not that we're against growth, okay? We aren't. And so who do I mean by we? It's not just me standing up here today. And I'd also like to say it's a darn shame that, that Hunter's not here, Hunter Pepper, because a lot of people emailed and called him, and he could have actually been a 5 vote on the other item. But who do I mean by we? So I represent a newly formed group called One Duck. We are One Decatur United Citizens Kaizen. We are a grassroots continual improvement coalition for accountability of the city's One Decatur comprehensive plan implementation, including infrastructure investments such as multimodal access, improved street design, streetscaping, and other components of a livable city. Our rapidly growing Facebook group is open to private citizens from all 5 districts in Decatur. Now, again, I assure you that One Duck members are absolutely not against growth. We are, however, against increased density without proper conditions in place. What we're advocating for is sustainable development, which does, in fact, include the pursuit of growth, which is needed for Decatur to attract more manufacturers and other businesses that fuel growth. Now, sustainable development, again, is not just about the environment. A lot of times people have that idea. It's just about the Lorax and tree hugging. It's about issues that surround smart growth, along with attention to balanced investment in infrastructure, education, healthcare, law enforcement, and other community services. And young professionals understand this and will pass over cities that allow indiscriminate development. My credentials for leading this advocacy include over 3 decades as a practitioner and an executive in the field. I am a published author, a researcher, an educator, and I have my master's in sustainable development from Harvard University. I currently serve as editor for the 17-volume United Nations Sustainable Development Corporate Guidebook Series, known as the SDGs. So, back to 331 Austinville Road. Rob Wilson and Randy Hill will be pointing...
That bell is for you to
Yes.
wrap up.
Yes, I am. I'm wrapping up. They will be pointing out the traffic issues on the handout that you have. I would like to point out the issue of trees. We want to make sure that there is proper streetscaping, and we do advocate for wider sidewalks because the current sidewalks in front of the other townhomes are not usable for the disabled, which is a problem. Thank you very much.
On the issue of wider sidewalks, our ordinance calls for a 4-foot wide sidewalk.
I'm not sure if they are.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, any new development will require 4 foot.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Next? Yep.
My name is Rob Wilson. I live at 1306 Kerridale Street. Mom and Daddy bought that house in 1961. Kerridale was gravel road back then. You're going to hear the same thing from us on a few of these. Specifically, I'll speak specifically to the one in front of us right now. I got a couple of questions. Your traffic studies on Kerridale were done 2014 through 2020, realizing that 2020 was a COVID year, although you said that 2016, I believe, was the highest count. You're doing new ones now, so that's good to know. There's a great disparity in that count between what happens, for example, after 8 o'clock at night. Heavy business hours is when Kerridale is extremely dangerous to get in and out of. Austinville Road's the same way. I'm also curious why, and I will find out, Austinville's categorized as a minor arterial. I want to find out when that categorization was made, because, you know, y'all spend any time down there, it's crazy. Specifically, kids can't get on and off buses. As one grandmother told me yesterday, waiting on her kid every day, she said it's a heart attack every afternoon, getting my girl off the bus and across Austinville. The reason to bring that up to y'all is we're adding more traffic to that weird intersection of Kerridale and Austinville right there. Another problem that we have, 2 or 3, is the other residents of the townhomes that are already there are not so sure that this new division can just hook into their alley. They seem to be of the opinion that that was theirs and it wasn't legal for somebody to just start using it, add that many more cars. We had initially heard the number that was going in there was 6. Now I hear today it's maybe up to 9 or 10. I don't know, 1 or 2 cars per thing going back up and down that alley is going to be something that none of them are prepared for, and I don't know if that was taken into consideration in looking at this. If you go down that alley and you run down parallel to Kerridale, turn back south, and then you're turning back into Kerridale, it's blind if you're trying to turn to your left to go back toward Austinville Road. It's also very narrow. It's 1 car in and out. Now you're going to add more cars to it. The general feeling is that we just need to have more infrastructure ready before we just go slamming more and more higher density residences into what is historically R2. Now I realize there's other condos around there, but these are some specific questions that might need just a little more consideration to think about before we just stamp it through. In general, we want growth. We want Decatur to grow. I grew up here. It just needs to be done the right way. And generally, higher density in R2 needs to have a lot more consideration. And by the way, on your sidewalks, I know that it's part of what you do is you'll put a sidewalk in front of that area. A sidewalk to where? I mean, it's kind of, you know, all over there's just little 1-block sidewalks. It doesn't help anybody the next block down trying to ride a bike or push a baby stroller, which we see routinely on Kerridale Street. Thank y'all for your time.
Thank you.
My name's Randy Hill. I live at 2804 Hunterwood Drive, Decatur, Alabama. And I'm here to speak with about the Kerridale and Modus Road, Austin Road, and other neighborhoods in the area that are going through some of these rezoning processes. I want to talk about traffic information, or excuse me, traffic impact studies, not just a traffic study. A traffic impact study is a study that evaluates the potential effects of proposed projects on surrounding and supporting transportation and infrastructure services. Everything, all the reports that we've been hearing are just basically traffic counts. I emailed Mr. Terry after one of our meetings that we had and asked him why AM and PM peak hour travel times were not taken into consideration. He said that AM and PM peak times are not used when considering widening of roadways. We're talking about more than just widening a road. We're talking about the impact that it has on surrounding areas, how it affects pedestrians, bicyclists. So does the city not require traffic impact studies at all? Just traffic studies? I think there should be more than just a counting of cars. You know, decisions that were made on traffic studies were based on, as the previous speaker spoke, that they were using data back in 2014 up to 2019, I think it was. Again, that was during a pandemic year. Some of the MPO reports and stuff that I've seen said the data, the crash data was collected between the years of 2013 and 2016. So again, the traffic impact study, studying how it will impact the surrounding area, I think is a very important part of this, or at least should be, in my opinion. So in conclusion, we'd like to have an updated and accurate understanding of both the traffic at all these developments to ensure that traffic calming needs and safe access is designed. We ask that to have multimodal access, streetscaping investments by the developer addressed as well. That's another important thing. In this manual, of course, it's a ALDOT manual for the state of Alabama, says that these should be the responsibility of the developer. So I don't think it would cost the city anything if we did something like that. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Charles Kirby. I live at 1706 Sandra Street, which is about 4 blocks from there. Anybody that makes the case to you that that is not a dangerous intersection and heavily traveled street is not giving you a good story. I travel that street almost daily, and I'm telling you, it's very, very dangerous. From either side, you go out either of those 2 townhome developments. To go right is dangerous enough. Trying to pull left is extremely dangerous during the high volume traffic hours of the day. Now, there's another trend we've been seeing lately, which is to allow developments with less than adequate parking. Each and every time that's done, it's not if there'll be a dispute, it's when there will be a dispute over parking. When you're cramming these smaller valued housing developments together, you're making problems for our police departments, you're making problems for our schools. I'm going to use a phrase here, and forgive me in advance, I'm going to ask your forgiveness, white flight, okay? It's not strictly white. People of means are typically the people who leave Decatur and leave poor economic classes behind. We spent the last 40 years with HUD working with our city to spread lower cost housing out, to thin it out, to eliminate social problems. What this trend is doing, squeezing more of these units in these small spaces right now, is reversing that trend that HUD has led us to. And it really should be considered because it's not helping Decatur, it's hurting District 4, it's hurting Decatur, and it's going to create more problems for this city. Thank you for your consideration.
Anyone else? Okay. Seeing no further comment, do we have a motion to recommend?
Motion for approval. Second.
A motion by Mr. Pike, second by Mr. Temple. Any questions, comments from anyone on the commission?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if the developer is here, but these are maybe the planning department, Lee or Matthew might know. These are going to be for sale, is that correct? or are they for rent?
That is my understanding, they'll be for sale. They are single-family homes on their own lot.
Okay, and do we have an idea of the price point?
Current, all I can tell you is the current trends of what we are seeing, not being a real estate agent, just the, current trends we're seeing in prices around, the way building prices are. You could expect these to be around 300. That's just kind of the nature of what houses, our building costs are so high right now, that's what's driving some of these things. My best guess, again, not being a real estate expert, just kind of seeing what else is out there and what new construction is going for, you could expect to be just at or just under 300 for this size townhome.
Thank you.
Let me ask you a question. The alley, is it equipped where it can have egress and regress, or just one car can go down?
It's our standard 20-foot alley, which you'll see in
Two cars
every
can go down?
neighborhood. Engineering would have to speak to that, but typically there is enough room in a 20-foot alley for 2 passenger vehicles to pass each other.
And that is a public right-of-way?
That is a public right-of-way, yes. There are very few examples of private alleys in the city, and for the most part, even by our subdivision regulations, we actually discourage private alleys. So very few alleys you'll come across in the city are private. There are, not that there are none, but for the most part, and in this case specifically, this is a public alley.
Mr. Humphreys, did you want to say something?
Richard Humphrey with Pure Right McAnally, 310 8th Avenue. We are representing the owner on this one. Unfortunately, he sends his apologies. Work took him out of state this week, so he was not able to be here. But yes, in answer to your question, it's my understanding that these are intended to be for sale units. They will be platted as individual lots to be sold.
Thank you.
One question, there's some semi-mature trees on this parcel. Has there been any discussion to save these trees, or is that possible?
I have talked with the owner about that, and as much as possible, we would like to. Just like with the existing home that's out there, there were a lot of very nice features internal to that, on the interior, architectural elements. And they are salvaging as much as they can to repurpose that as well as they can. As much as we can, trees will be saved. There is an area, the northeastern corner of this, that's going to be kind of reserved as green space. Basically the way these would lay out, these lots would lay out essentially parallel with the ones across the alley, and they will all front towards Kerridale. Today there's actually 2 turnouts from this lot onto Kerridale. Those would be eliminated because only access would be the rear. So we would be removing those 2 turnouts onto Kerridale with this project.
So removing, I'm sorry, go ahead, Francis, go ahead.
So if you remove the turnouts, then where will they come out, on what street?
They'll be coming out into this alley, and then from the
Onto
alley,
where?
they can either come out to Austinville, they can come out to Autumnwood and to Austinville, or they could come down to Kerridale. So from the rear access, they have 3 options.
Autumnwood is a traffic light, correct?
No.
No, okay.
Austinville. I mean, Kerridale and
Yeah,
Sandlin, Fifth Avenue.
Fifth Avenue
Fifth
has
Avenue,
a
right.
signalized intersection.
Okay, that's right, yeah. So they can come out into that center lane. Any other questions? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lawrence,
Yes.
Commissioner Borden,
Yes.
Commissioner Tate,
Yes.
Commissioner Wynn,
Yes.
Commissioner Temple,
Yes.
Commissioner Burrows,
Yes.
Commissioner Culpepper,
Yes.
Commissioner Pike.
Yes.
This is 8-0 to recommend approval to the city council. Okay?
Next case is rezoning 1394-22. It is .46 acres, currently zoned R6, single-family semi-attached townhomes. The applicant is Purite McAnally for Windchase Townhome Community Owners Association. The location is north of 2847 Hempstead Avenue, southwest. Request is to rezone .46 acres from R6 to R50. The new zoning would be R50, single-family patio homes, 0 lot line. The proposed land use is single-family residential, and the 1 Decatur future land use is residential medium-high. The 1 Decatur street typology, Hempstead Avenue Southwest, is a local street. Comments from the zoning committee. All zoning committee members were in favor of this request.
Anyone from the public wish to speak to this? Okay, if not, do we have a motion to recommend to council?
Motion to approve.
Motion?
Second.
A motion by Mr. Borden, second by Mrs. Tate. Any questions or comments from anyone on the commission?
Only question I got, we did say it's only 3 patio on this lot.
Correct, 3.
That's what's been indicated to us. The Plat, when they bring it to us after the zoning is done, is that this will accommodate 3 patio homes.
And it's the homeowners themselves that own the homes around it that are requesting this. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lawrence?
Yes?
Commissioner Borden?
Yes.
Commissioner Tate?
Yes.
Commissioner Wynn?
Yes.
Commissioner Temple?
Yes.
Commissioner Burrows?
Yes.
Commissioner Culpepper?
Yes.
Commissioner Pock?
Yes.
Okay, that is 8-0 for recommend to the city council. Okay.
All right, the next case is rezoning 1395-22, 3.04 acres, currently zoned B1 local shopping district and R1 single-family residential. The applicant is Jason Parker. Location is 3112 Highway 31 South. The request is to rezone 3.04 acres from B1 and R1 to B2. The new zone would be B2, and the proposed land use is commercial, a veterinarian clinic. 1 Decatur future land use is Flex Employment Center, and 1 Decatur street typology, Highway 31 South, is a principal arterial. Comments from the zoning committee. All zoning committee members were in favor of this request.
Any comments from the public? Being no comments, do we have a motion to recommend this to the council?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Temple, second by Mr. Borden. Any comments or questions from anyone on the commission? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lawrence?
Yes.
Commissioner Borden?
Yes.
Commissioner Tate?
Yes.
Commissioner Wynn?
Yes.
Commissioner Temple?
Yes.
Commissioner Burrows?
Yes.
Commissioner Culpepper?
Yes.
Commissioner Pock?
Yes.
Okay, another 8-0 to recommend to the council. Okay.
The next item is the Ridge Phase 2 minor plat. It is 74.76 acres, currently zoned Ag 1. The applicant is Purite McAnally for Holland Holdings LP. The location is 2921 Modus Road Southwest. The request is to approve a minor plat. Proposed land use is single-family residential. 1 Decatur future land use is major institution or civic. And 1 Decatur street typology, Modus Road is a minor arterial. Conditions to be met. 1, need drainage topo map. 2, fees for APO letters. 3, copy of deed. And 4, per engineering approval. And point of information, any relocation of utilities will be at the owner's expense. And a little clarity on this, I just realized a lot of times we shorten things. APO is adjacent property. So
Anyone from the public wish to comment on this request? All right, do we have a motion to recommend?
Motion for approval?
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Pike, second by Mrs. Tate. Any questions or comments from anyone on the commission? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lawrence?
Yes.
Commissioner Borden?
Yes.
Commissioner Tate?
Yes.
Commissioner Wynn?
Yes.
Commissioner Temple?
Yes.
Commissioner Burrows?
Yes.
Commissioner Culpepper?
Yes.
Commissioner Pike?
Yes.
8-0 to recommend to council. Okay.
The next item is Kerridale Commons minor plat. It is 1.52 acres, currently zoned Ag 1. The applicant is, I'm sorry, that current zoning is incorrect. I just noticed that is supposed to be R6. I apologize. The current zone is R6. The applicant is Pewright McAnally for Hill Construction LLC. The location is 809 Kerridale Street Southwest. The request is to approve minor plat. Proposed land use is townhomes. The One Decatur future land use is core neighborhood. And the One Decatur street typology, Kerridale Street Southwest, is a minor arterial. Conditions to be met, drainage topo map is needed per engineering approval, which again means engineering will just need to do final sign off before approval is given. And 3, sewer needs to be extended to service lots 8 through 11, and field work needs to be completed to verify that those lots can be served. Point of information, any relocation of utilities will be at the owner's expense, and also a certificate of occupancy will be held until sidewalks are installed.
Okay, anyone from the public wish to speak to this request? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you again for hearing me. Again, my name is Andrea Hoffmeyer Wilson, and I live at 1306 Kerridale Street. We have that informational printout for you that I hope will be useful to you. Again, we have Rob Wilson and Randy Hill will be talking through some of the traffic issues. What I would like to focus in on is up at the top of the page. The developer has cut down every last tree on the lot, leaving no chance for any preservation. This is one reason why on the previous property that we talked about, we would like to see preservation efforts in place beforehand, before the site is raised completely. We do ask that the developer be responsible for restorative streetscaping. So we don't see any of that on this minor plat. Maybe that's not the time or the place for a minor plat for streetscaping to be pointed out. It's a great concern to us. We also ask that he be responsible for installing wide sidewalks. Now, in the One Decatur plan, there is a discussion about narrow sidewalks and wide sidewalks. So whatever is a wide sidewalk, that's what we'd like. Because the sidewalks, as I mentioned, on the other side of Kerridale, down the street towards Austinville, it's just really not a sidewalk. It's one person would have to be very tiny to walk down it. So those sidewalks on the other side of the other part of Kerridale are not appropriate for families walking together, for children walking side by side. There's no place for cyclists on Kerridale. And citizens with mobility or vision disabilities do not have safe passage up and down Kerridale. As mentioned previously, we are asking that we please do not have sidewalks to nowhere. So yes, right in front of the property, the developer is responsible for installing sidewalks. We believe that the developer should extend those down to the end of the block. We also are hoping that there are going to be sidewalks, not only on Kerridale, but on Cara Street. So with that, again, the traffic issues I'm going to leave for the gentleman. But we really would like to also understand that, does the city of Decatur have any tree preservation process or mandate in place? We've looked, I can't find any. So when zoning increases are granted, is there anything put in place where a city arborist or somebody goes out and looks at the property? If there's not anything in place, now would be a really good time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Rob Wilson, 1306 Kerridale Street. Specific to the Platt right now y'all are talking about, you got 2 or 3 things, I guess you can tell from that. The street that they're going to empty into is a little street called Cara. About 50 feet at the Kerridale end of Clara, and the Bradley end of Clara is enlarged a little bit, but by and large, 80% of that street is a 1-lane street. And there are little homes all along the way. It's a lovely little neighborhood. Suddenly, you're going to have all that traffic exiting into Kerridale, we'll talk about in a minute, or coming out of the apartments and turning right onto Clara to go down to Bradley, which is highly trafficked now, to go to Spring to get to the Belt Line. If you turn out and you try to turn to get to Kerridale, which is a problem that we have with this whole traffic thing, number one, I guess you could get, we could go out there with a tape measure and measure. We looked at the footage, but depending on the size of the cars, you could only get 5 cars there. So where are they going to back up into? So what we're saying is, please think about, Clara is a small little 1-lane street, period. The alley behind this project is not really an alley, it's some gravel and some grass. Now, obviously, I'm sure that they'll make a nice paved alley out of it. It dumps directly into Spring Avenue, virtually at the intersection of Kerridale. How those people are going to turn south onto Spring is beyond me. I'm not sure. Again, this just needs consideration when you're dumping higher density families into R2 stuff. The same things that have been talked about before, the sidewalk, the kids and buses on the area, we don't even know how that would go, assuming families might be there. I guess some of the same questions might come up on these because they're similar residences to the other one on Austinville and Kerridale, which is what are they going to sell for? And the total guessed answer, I realized, was about 300. Actually, there's 3 of them for sale right now on Zillow between 90 and 110. And that's asking price. So I don't know that we're going to have $250,000 townhomes running up and down Kerridale Street. Again, that goes to traffic, number of vehicles that are going to be there, and how are you going to get them in and out of there. And a lot of this for us, again, Kerridale Street does not have to turn into 6th Avenue. It's a nice neighborhood. Austinville is a wonderful old town. You mentioned extending right-of-ways. I'm not even sure what that means. People with yards have fences. And by the way, all the stuff that we're saying, it's not just 4 or 5 of us. We have literally talked to every resident around that area within 3 blocks, both on this project and also on, I know y'all already voted on Austinville, but on that one as well. This is not just a few people. These are the families that live in that neighborhood right now. Thank y'all for your time and consideration.
Again, my name's Randy Hill, live at 2804 Hunterwood Drive, Decatur, Alabama. And this goes along with, again, with traffic studies that I had mentioned before. And then, again, this is from the ALDOT manual. It asks, one more thing, too, before we get started. The terms we're using for minor artery, and I think there's 3 others that normally apply. the city has labeled a lot of these as minor artery. But in another particular area that I'm referring to, out on Upper River Road, that same minor artery by the city is called a major connector. So I've read the definitions and I see there's a little, to me it's a little bit subjective, but it creates a different thought process, I guess, about what it really looks like. Back to the traffic impact studies, it says that TIS or studies are encouraged for any development requiring access to or access permit along a state highway. A TIS may be required for developments whose trip generation estimates are less than 100 total inbound and outbound peak hour trips. Again, AM and PM peak hour travel times are important, and yet they seem to be overlooked in a lot of these studies. These are conditions where LDOT personnel require impact traffic studies. Developments that do not directly access state highway systems but will impact the traffic conditions on an existing highway system, changes in land use and or development density, a change in the land use and development density of a property assessing previously permitted connection points, and it goes on and on. So again, I would just like to see if there's some way that we could do more than just traffic counts for these areas to find out the real impact on the surrounding areas. I guess that's all I have to say. But thank you very much, I appreciate it.
One thing I will just say about that ALDOT requirements, ALDOT is notified about all of these in our TRC process, and they had no requirements or comments for this. ALDOT didn't.
It's my understanding that in this manual that it states that.
Well, I'm just telling you, Mr. Hill, that they were notified and they didn't have any comments to us about it. Anyone else? Okay, there being no further public comment, do we have a motion to?
Let me ask this.
Okay. Well, we'll get a motion, then you can ask. Okay.
Motion for approval?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pike, second by Ms. Tate. Comments or questions from the commission?
We will address sidewalks and all of that with this community. We will,
Site plan.
the site plan,
Well,
address sidewalks. and
Well,
all
the
that.
sidewalk, so once the plat is approved and recorded, the lots are created, and the builder will then be able to pull their building permits, apply, pay, obtain their building permits. They'll build the townhouse, and as part of building the townhouse, they will build the sidewalk. And they will not, you'll see on here, there is a point of information, they will not be allowed to get a certificate of occupancy for that dwelling from the building department until the sidewalk is installed and inspected and accepted by the city.
Does that answer your question? Okay.
And
You know-
it's a standard 4-foot sidewalk.
Yeah, that's what,
City required.
yeah, that's what we require in all subdivisions is a standard 4-foot wide sidewalk. Okay. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lawrence?
Yes.
Commissioner Borden?
Yes.
Commissioner Tate?
Yes.
Commissioner Wynn?
Yes.
Commissioner Temple?
Yes.
Commissioner Burrows?
Yes.
Commissioner Culpepper?
Yes.
Commissioner Pike?
Yes.
Okay, it's 8-0 for recommending approval. All right, Plat is approved.
All right, the
Not
next
recommend,
item.
that's approved.
Approved, yes.
Yeah.
The next item is Holland Meadow subdivision preliminary plat. It is 27.72 acres, currently zoned R6 and R5. The applicant is Purite McAnally for Evergreen Living. The location is 3411 Deer Road Southeast. The request is preliminary plat approval, proposed land use, single-family residential, townhomes, and patio homes. One Decatur future land use is mixed neighborhood, and One Decatur street typology, Deer Road Southeast, is a local street. Conditions to be met per engineering approval, and 2, show 20-foot sewer easement between lots 33 and 34. And a point of information, any relocation of utilities will be at the owner's expense.
Hey, anyone from the public wish to comment on this application? If not, do we have a motion to approve? Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Ross, this area is out towards where I live. You said that AlDOT was notified?
Yes.
Do you happen to know who notified them or when it was done?
That comes from the planning department with our TRC. That all of these things are sent out to all the different agencies, the utilities.
Okay. Okay. I've actually spoken with one person. I didn't know this. I'll check further.
Lee, can you give me his name? Joe? I can't recall.
So it's AlDOT's divided into divisions and regions, and they are sent to our local region office. Our representative is usually Joseph Williams.
Yep.
And sometimes that changes just depending on who's available to review everything, but they are sent to the local region office for
He's
review.
normally included in the TRC, correct?
Yes.
Right, yes. Okay. Sure.
My name is Greg Lawton. I live at 1307 Old River Road. And I'm not exactly sure where this is. Is this where you said somebody mentioned earlier when y'all were having your planning about there would be a holding pond built?
Now, this is on Deer Road.
But is it on the south side of Upper River Road or the north side?
On the
It's
south
on the
side,
south side and on the west side of Deer.
across from the camper place out there, if you're familiar with that.
Place out there. So has there been a study done about the holding pond? You said it's the pond on there.
Yes, yeah, engineering has been done on this one.
Okay, so on other subdivisions or apartment complexes that you approve, have y'all already done those preliminaries, or is that something that will have to take place later on? In other words, y'all are saying that this has already been done, but on the property that
Okay, are
affects
you
me-
asking about this one, or are you
Yeah,
asking me about
this one.
something else?
Well,
Yeah,
is
this
this-
one is done, yes.
Okay, so does it have to be done before you can plan it?
Well, this is part of the planning. This is the step where
So it
we
has to be done on
approve-
every approval. Is that correct?
It's drainage and.
Has to be
everything's
done before you rezone.
Right?
No, not before we rezone it, before it's built.
Right, before it's
Okay.
built. This
Thank
is
you
a-
for your
this is a-
time. I'm just
Yeah, this
kinda
is a
curious.
plat right
I
here.
think that was right. I thought it was gonna be the other corner of that road, but that's not for that.
So this, just for information, so this is preliminary plat, so this is the stage where we get the full construction drawing set, and that set includes roadway design, all of their drainage, all of their utilities. Before they are brought to this body, that full construction set is approved by DU, by engineering, by all the relevant parties. They have to be signed off and approved before this preliminary plat can be brought before this body for approval.
Right, and that's in what we call the TRC process, which is technical review. And 2 members of this commission attends that each month as well. And then after that, they can start the construction. They can't sell lots yet until there's a final plat. but this gives them permission to start construction of the subdivision. Okay. We already got a motion, right? All right. Any comments from the commission? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lawrence?
Yes.
Commissioner Borden?
Yes.
Commissioner Tate?
Yes.
Commissioner Wynn?
Yes.
Commissioner Temple?
Yes.
Commissioner Burrows?
Yes.
Commissioner Culpepper?
Yes.
Commissioner Pike?
Yes.
Okay, and that is approved 8-0. Okay, the next part of our agenda is the consent agenda. This is the part of the agenda that the Planning Commission has the final decision on. It does not require a public hearing. These items are read together and voted on as a group. Today we have these type requests. Certificates to subdivide. This is a one-step process to subdivide no more than 3 lots or to consolidate lots. A survey is required. Site plans, this is proposed developments on a collector street or above. Plans show building placement, parking, circulation, landscaping, etc. If you wish to comment on any of these, you will be given a chance after they've all been read.
All right. First up is certificate 357322. It is 108.97 acres, currently zoned Ag 1. The applicant is Mid-South Testing for William McClung. The location is 3824 South Chapel Hill Road Southwest. The request is to change lot lines between 2 parcels totaling 108.97 acres to create 2 parcels of 7.44 and 101.53 acres. Proposed land use is single-family residential and agricultural. The 1 Decatur future land use is rural edge agricultural. 1 Decatur street typology South Chapel Hill Road Southwest is an urban collector. Conditions to be met: 1, recording fees; 2, signed sealed survey with 3 state plane coordinates; and 3, some of the bearings on the plat don't match the legal description. Those differences need checked and corrections need to be made so that they match. Point of information: any relocation of utilities will be at the owner's expense. And tract 3, what's labeled on the maps as tract 3, will not have sewer access unless the sewer main is extended. All right. The next item is site plan 63722. It is 39.46 acres, currently zoned M2 General Industry. Applicant is Baskin Incorporated for Steel Technologies. Location is 3301 Mallard Fox Drive Northwest. The request is site plan approval. Proposed land use is industrial manufacturing. 1 Decatur future land use is general industrial. And 1 Decatur street typology Mallard Fox Drive Northwest is a minor arterial. Conditions to be met: 1, per engineering approval, and 2, show sewer easement on west side of the property. And point of information: any relocation of utilities will be at the owner's expense.
Is there anyone that wishes to speak to either one of these requests? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion for approval.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Borden, second by Mr. Wynn. Any comments or questions from anyone on the commission? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lawrence?
Yes.
Commissioner Borden?
Yes.
Commissioner Tate?
Yes.
Commissioner Wynn?
Yes.
Commissioner Temple?
Yes.
Commissioner Burrows?
Yes.
Commissioner Culpepper?
Yes.
Commissioner Pike?
Yes.
Okay, these items are approved 8-0. Okay, then last we have other business. We have two annexations. And this is adding unincorporated land contiguous to the city limits to our city boundaries. And this is also a recommendation to the council.
The first one is Annexation 36822. It is 6.4 acres. Current zoning is none. The applicant is Ivan Holt. The location is 370 McIntyre Lane Southwest. The request is to annex 6.4 acres. Proposed land use is industrial manufacturing. One Decatur future land use is mixed neighborhood, and One Decatur street typology, McIntyre Lane Southwest is an urban collector. Conditions to be met, there are none, and point of information, any relocation of utilities will be at the owner's expense.
Anyone wish to comment on this? Okay, do we have a motion to recommend to council?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Temple,
Second.
second by Mr. Borden. Any comments or questions from the commission? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lawrence?
Yes.
Commissioner Borden?
Yes.
Commissioner Tate?
Yes.
Commissioner Wynn?
Yes.
Commissioner Temple?
Yes.
Commissioner Burrows?
Yes.
Commissioner Culpepper?
Yes.
Commissioner Pike?
Yes.
Okay, it's recommended with 8-0 vote.
All right, and the next item is Annexation 36922. It is 11.31 acres, currently zoned none. The application is Purite McAnally for Omega Hotel Group. The location is 2319 Old Moulton Road Southwest. The request is to annex 11.31 acres. Proposed land use, not applicable. The One Decatur future land use is community commercial and flex employment. And the One Decatur street typology, Old Moulton Road is a minor arterial and Beltline Road is a principal arterial. Conditions to be met, we need copies of the deeds. And point of information, any relocation of utilities will be at the owner's expense.
Does anyone wish to speak to this request? Do we have a motion to recommend to council?
Motion for approval.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Pike, second by Mrs. Tate. Any questions or comments? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lawrence?
Yes.
Commissioner Borden?
Yes.
Commissioner Tate?
Yes.
Commissioner Wynn?
Yes.
Commissioner Temple?
Yes.
Commissioner Burrows?
Yes.
Commissioner Culpepper?
Yes.
Commissioner Pike?
Yes.
Okay, that will be recommended 8-0. Okay, we have two items that we have added to our agenda. These are just procedural type things. You're welcome to stay and listen to it. We won't take any questions on these items, but you're welcome to stay and listen to us. The first one I want to bring up is this on the, I guess I would say a zoning text change to the B1 that would propose allowing on-premise alcohol sales.
As well as expanding off-premise from currently beer and wine only to full alcohol off-premise and on-premise.
And this could be a use permitted or a use, as we call now, on appeal. I'm just sort of throwing the discussion out. It's, see what the commission feels about that. How would you like to see that proceed? Do you want it to be part of the rewrite, or you want it to be a special text that we move forward with now? So I'm just sort of open the floor up for comments.
I would say allow use permitted on appeal.
Okay.
Not allowing it if it's B1.
Okay.
Kind of how we would look to handle it is it wouldn't be the alcohol itself that would be allowable on appeal. It would be the use of the property. So say it's a convenience store, that's the use, and that a convenience store is either allowed or allowed on appeal. And if they are allowed, then they also are allowed to sell alcohol, allowed to obtain an alcohol license. They still then have to comply with all state regulations as far as obtaining a license, and then also has to be approved by city council to obtain the ability to sell alcohol. So it wouldn't necessarily be that the alcohol itself is a use or use on appeal. It's each individual use, convenience store, package store, restaurant, and then your specific use is then determines what kind of license you are able to obtain.
Okay, so, but a convenience store is already allowed in B1.
A convenience store, yes, a small convenience store, neighborhood type
Right,
market,
and they already have the right to sell beer and wine.
off premise.
Right, off premise. So first off, it would be a package store is what we're adding. So we would be adding the use of a package store.
So that would be, it would be twofold. It would be allowing the on and off premise alcohol sales, and then allowing more targeted uses such as a package store where we currently are not. We would allow a package store, and we would look to move a restaurant from a permitted use or from a permitted on appeal use to just a permitted use. Currently, the way it's written, if you want to operate a restaurant in a neighborhood commercial district or B1, then you have to ask BOZA permission for that use.
Okay, personally, I would not, I'm not wanting to change that permitted use on a restaurant either. I would like it where that stays the same, but we add that they can be a package store for on and off premise sales. And if that takes a different category altogether for beer and wine, then that would have to be there as well.
Yes.
But it's my proposal that they all stay on appeal. Restaurant, package, and right now.
Restaurants right now on appeal, correct?
A restaurant is on
A
appeal now.
restaurant is on appeal, yes.
Beer and wine is
Have
allowed.
alcohol in the B1, is that not what we said earlier?
Beer and wine off premise is currently the only alcohol sales that are allowed in a B1. I can read you the.
Yeah, offset.
But let's make sure I understand what you're proposing here. So you're proposing restaurants stay, they use permitted on appeal, but if that appeal is granted for use in a B1, then.
They would then be allowed to get a restaurant retail liquor license,
For that
which they currently are not allowed to by zoning.
So if they went to BOZA and said, hey, we want to put a restaurant right here, it's a B1, it's a use permitted on appeal, and BOZA says, here you go, thumbs up, then they automatically would be able to sell on-premise alcohol.
Yes.
If they meet this.
If they are granted the ability to operate the restaurant, then they would be allowed the on-premise alcohol sales.
That's right.
Well,
And then the package store by itself
Would be a use permitted on appeal itself.
Itself, exactly.
Gotcha.
well, my comment is, I think we're defeating the purpose of the B1 and the B2 zone. The purpose of a B1 is to filter the neighborhood. And my objection is, if it's not good for one neighborhood, it's not good for the other neighborhood.
Well, I would agree with that, but let's just take our case that we had earlier today. The quandary there is taking it to a B2, which opens it up for a lot of other items that could be used there other than a package store, if the package store decided to, I don't want to be here anymore.
Right.
Okay? I'm not opposed to the package store being there. I would be opposed potentially for, let's just say, I'm not saying I would be opposed to a car lot, but someone could be opposed to a car lot being there, okay? The B2 would allow for both of those. The B1 use permitted on appeal would allow the package store to operate there. So, and I hear what you're saying, but in my opinion, I think the use permitted on appeal would accomplish what needs to happen there.
And let me make this statement. Have you lived near a package store that sell alcohol? Or have you lived near a club in your back door? I do.
True.
Let me tell you, I do. 5 o'clock Sunday morning, the music was still booming. that is not what a neighborhood is about.
Well, and I can tell you too, so
And-
the use, a bar, which is what a club or anything like that would be classified as, would not be allowed in the neighborhood commercial district. They are restricted to B2, or what we will call in our new rewrite, community commercial. So in the neighborhood commercial, if you did allow the alcohol sales, a bar or a club would still not be a permitted use, only a restaurant. And by definition,
What is this bar and grill, like we had earlier? Would that be a
so
restaurant?
it all comes down to the percentages of your sales, is how that is regulated and how it's regulated by the state. So depending on your license, there are certain percentage thresholds of, you have to have this amount, or this percentage of gross receipts has to be food, or you cannot fall into that category of license.
I still think it's a bad idea for any city to let certain things filter over into a neighborhood. Because you are destroying the neighborhood. And there's other properties where they need to go to B2, fine, let them go to the B2 area.
And I guess that's the question that the planning department in doing this rewrite needs to pose to this body, because this is the first stop for approval before it goes to council. And, you know, as I stated in the pre-meeting, our goal is we want to present a document that can be adopted by this body and by city council. And so the question on this that needs to be weighed is, what is a neighborhood commercial district? What is its intended use? What is its character supposed to be? And that's kind of the question I'm posing to you is, when you think of a neighborhood commercial district like this, like what this is intended to do, is the full alcohol sales in that vision? Does it fall into what a neighborhood district is intended to be? You know, if it is not allowing a package store, but allowing a convenience store who, you know, is allowed to sell alcohol, but is also a larger general merchandise store.
Which is defeating the purpose, it's gonna do the same thing.
And that's the question I'm.
And that's sort of how I feel about it. They're already allowed to sell beer and wine. I don't see the huge difference myself between beer and wine and liquor. You know, if you're gonna have one. But I see your point, and that's why I like it on appeal, because then you can look at the specific neighbor, you know, and if the neighborhood.
Well, and that's the intent of a use on appeal.
Right.
Is so that the applicant has to come before BOZA, and one of the things that BOZA takes into account when they are granting a use on appeal is impact on the neighborhood. So in this case that was brought before you today, you know, you have an establishment there and it backs up to a house just a few feet away from it. So BOZA would then have to weigh, okay, in granting this restaurant appeal, I would be granting alcohol sales along with that. Is it okay for us to grant that appeal based on what is surrounding it?
Right, and
So
churches.
those are protections that would be added in if it were a use on appeal
Right, and-
for a restaurant
Well,
use,
and
or
the church protection is already there, and it would still be there with this, because we're not talking about changing that. So
there are certain, within a certain distance of a church or a school, you're not allowed to sell alcohol. There are certain cases where if certain stipulations are met, buffering certain things, the council is given authority to waive that requirement, but they're pretty high bar to meet to waive that requirement.
And just to clarify, all we're doing today is really talking about passing a resolution asking the planning department
And that's,
to
we just.
submit a zoning text amendment to us.
Or if
Put in the rewrite.
in the rewrite.
Yeah.
So a
Either
difference,
way,
a difference of a couple months,
Right.
but we need direction on what the feeling of this body is and what direction we need to go
I think
on
it
how to
allows us to
handle it.
look at the neighborhood and see what zone it needs to be and not just vote in fear of what it could be. You know, if you say this needs to be a B1, hey, I'm a little worried about this, but you know what? Bose has got it. And you gotta trust another body, you know, but we don't vote in fear.
Right.
And that is a very important point to remember is, yeah, you would be handing off to another body to grant that appeal. But that's, like I said, that is an extra layer of protection if you put left restaurant as it is in a use on appeal, but then that restaurant, if given that appeal, would have full alcohol sales.
You know, and they're taking from Boza the administrative office stuff that's a lot of that body sees. That's off. They have more focus on an important matter like this.
And either way, it has to come back to this body to be approved and the council. So whether we do it as a text amendment now or in the rewrite, it still comes back to us for a vote. And it goes to the council for a vote, either way, before it is adopted.
Text amendments may be a month or two quicker, but it'll end up being in the rewrite anyway. in the long run.
If we did a text amendment at this point, we would carry the spirit of that over as much as possible to the rewrite as well.
But it's not in the proposed rewrite now.
The current rewrite changes no alcohol laws at all. Any alcohol regulations are being carried over 1-to-1 to the new ordinance. And that's kind of the question I'm asking is, in this case in particular, we're carrying the B1 off-premise sale of beer and table wine directly over to the neighborhood commercial zoning in the new rewrite.
We need to change that.
So that's the question is, in the rewrite, does that need to be what we have in other zonings, which the wording on that is, let me find it here to give you the exact wording. On-premise and off-premise sale of alcoholic beverages. So those are the two distinct categories we have are on-premise, off-premise, beer and table wine, alcoholic beverages. Alcoholic beverages just simply allows the sale of liquor or, higher percentage spirits, where beer and table wine is limited to just that.
Okay, so let me just sort of get a consensus. Do you feel like that we want to address this in anything?
Yes.
Address this in anything?
Address changing it, whether it be in a text amendment or a rezone?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it needs to be, yes.
So, and personally, I think that we ought to just leave it in the rewrite. We're so close to the rewrite.
It would be my recommendation at this point to any changes like this need to be in the rewrite, because we're so close at this point, it's gonna, we've already delivered final comments, so that would be more comments we have to give to Clarion, which at this point is an additional expense, is another thing we have to remember.
Okay, so do I have a motion for a resolution for the planning commission asking the planning department to address alcohol sales in a neighborhood
commercial
district in the rewrite?
B1
Well, no,
Yep.
it won't be B1 anymore.
The
It'll
new name
neighborhood
will be,
commercial.
neighborhood commercial will be the new name for
Are
that
there
zone.
other places beer and wine are separate from alcohol?
So
If there are, I think it should just be alcohol across the board. There's no difference in.
So any mention of alcohol should be on and off-premise sale of alcoholic beverages and not limited to any specific type. Is that what you're?
That's my opinion.
So
I don't know that
I
we,
think it should
well,
be limited.
I don't, like a B6 can't have any alcohol sales at all.
Yes, currently B6 does not have any alcohol sales.
And B5 already is.
The only other place where it's more restrictive is B5, which is our central business district. It allows off-premise sale of alcoholic beverages and on-premise sale of table wine. And then it's a little more complicated where on-premise sale of alcoholic beverages, which is the full alcohol sales, is allowed at the Princess Theater, and it is allowed at restaurants and a bar that is connected to a hotel with 50 rooms or more. So there's a little more distinction of how alcohol sales are broken up. And that would be another question. Would it behoove us at this point to simplify that? And in the central business district, which is, you know, full, getting more and more full of restaurants at this point, to just allow on and off premise sale of alcoholic beverages.
Yes, that's my opinion.
I think the district is a good thought, is looking at the city as a whole and the purpose of it.
Yeah. Well, it still does not allow what we call a bar or a club.
It allows a restaurant.
Allows a restaurant.
Which again comes with the stipulations that a certain percentage of their
So
sales.
it's already there. The only thing that's not allowed is a package store or a convenience store.
Or a convenience store, yes.
And
But some of them still said beer and table wine versus alcohol.
Yes.
It says beer and table wine, in my opinion, that should be alcohol across the board.
well, does it say that for a restaurant? I don't think it does. A restaurant already has that on and off.
But it,
all alcohol.
but it has to have a separate bar. So
Oh, yeah, that's right.
that's the stipulation, is to get on-premise sale of full alcoholic beverages in a restaurant, it has to have a bar inside of it.
Okay, to me, there's a little more thought that needs to be put into this. I'm gonna go back to asking the planning department to present something to us. Whether it's all or part, you know, a rough draft, and then we have something to talk about, and we can all take time to read through these things and see what needs to be in it. But go ahead and get something started to give to Clarion for our rewrite.
And it sounds like that's, you know, I think there are still other issues that need to be fixed in our larger alcohol ordinances, but that's a larger conversation. But there are some simple things like that that can be done in the rewrite to help us out of, you know, like I said, we seem to be getting the same thing. And, you know, that's a lot of times, that's how we know it's how we know something needs to be addressed, is all of a sudden, oh, wait a second, 3 months in a row, we've gotten B1 to B2 requests, and it's for the same purpose. And that's what's kind of brought this to our attention, is.
Okay, so is this something that the department's capable of making these recommendations and bring it back to us next month to give to Clarion in time for the rewrite change?
I can go ahead, if this is the intent, to just simplify all mentions of the ability to sell alcohol on to be on and off premise beer and wine. Basically, that encompasses all of your commercial districts. So if you're in a commercial district, you would be able to sell alcoholic beverages according to if your use is allowed in, you know, if a restaurant or a package store is allowed, then you can sell the full range of alcohol.
So, to follow on to that, the existing gas stations and convenience stores that sell beer and wine would automatically then be able to sell all types of alcohol?
If But again, another piece of this to remember is licensing for alcohol begins with the state. And so there are hurdles that have to be crossed at the state level. One of the things, if you'll notice, is a package store. If you go to a convenience store, your beer and your wine are over here in this section. Convenience, or the package store is separate in a separate area from the convenience store. That stems from state laws. There are still a lot of things in state law that they have to comply with on top of the city allowing them to operate.
I still think something need to be, when you bring the plan back to us, I think you still need to address the neighborhoods also.
Okay. And I think the biggest thing on that is going to be the use table. So when the draft is brought back to this body for your review as part of the public review, the larger public review period, is I encourage you to look through that use table and see what is being allowed in that district and make sure that it's in fitting with a neighborhood commercial district.
Okay, we've already given Clarion our final changes.
Final staff comments, yes.
Right. So basically, this would come out after public comment.
Well, they haven't finished addressing all of our final comments, so
Okay,
we
so
can
we still got
provide,
time.
we still have time to provide some limited
Okay.
comments to them,
And
yes.
back to my other question, if you brought us something next month that we said, okay, yes, this is what we want to give Clarion, is that?
It would
is that-
potentially be too late to
Okay.
get it included in the rewrite, or in this set of comments. We do have, in the contract, during the public review period, there's bound to be some things that come up that need changed. And we do have a small contingency budget to have some changes made after the public review period.
Okay, I guess this is gonna be a legal question. Do we have to, in order for this body to review something, to tell the planning department to add it in the rewrite, do we have to have a public meeting? Or can we just do it through an email?
As long as, as long as you're okay with informal
Yeah, and I'm not-
communication in
Right.
this case.
It's not a vote because we haven't voted on any change in the rewrite.
And we're just looking for direction more
That's
than
right, it's
anything.
just
And like I
direction.
said, it would be more like an informal straw poll for the department. We would send it out to you and just say, what are your feelings on this?
Right.
And based on the feedback, then we would be able to get a better idea of what direction we need to go on this issue in the rewrite. Because like I said, at the end of the day, the goal is to get you all a document that you can comfortably vote yes on. Yes, I recommend this is our new zoning and council needs to adopt it. Mhm.
Presenting something for you all to consider as a commission before any changes would be submitted or made. So I think if you bring something to you all to review, you have the time to review it before it would go before public comment, because you'd have to come up with what you wanted to say.
But we don't have to hold a public hearing on it. I thought if we vote on anything, we have to have a public hearing.
Yes.
But as individual members, can we?
If you are deliberating together, if you're just providing feedback
Yes.
individually, I don't believe you do. It's if you would come into a public forum and discuss it amongst you all together, then there would have to be a public hearing. But if you're just giving suggestions before it's presented, it wouldn't be something that would be in stone. It would just be to get something formulated, because then you would have a meeting on that and the public could still comment. You could still amend it at that point. There
Right.
wouldn't be anything final.
Okay, so no questions at this point.
I'm gonna object, because I don't think that's allowed. I don't think polling, straw polling is allowed by state law.
Well, and that was just like I said, I'm not asking for a vote, I'm asking for comments.
Yeah.
I'm asking
All
for.
all we're doing is individually giving our recommendations of what we want to see in the rewrite.
Let me
as
ask you-
individuals.
And then,
Hang on, let me ask you a question.
that's a question that we will get answered if we can do that. If not, we will look at bringing it into a public forum. But for now, like I said, the planning department needs direction.
I had a question though. Didn't we have a rewrite committee?
Yes.
We did. Mhm.
Why don't you address that?
If this body is comfortable with that, we can pose it to that committee.
Address it to the rewrite committee and y'all present it.
Based on this conversation and kind of the direction that we believe, I believe I'm hearing, which is all mentions of alcohol sales transition to on and off premise sale of alcoholic beverages. We can pose that to that committee and see what feedback we get from them.
I would like to make a motion that we direct the rewrite committee to work with you to address these issues we just laid out.
We certainly can get a recommendation from them.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
So then,
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion, Mr. Wynn, second by Mr. Pike. Now, any discussion?
so then your chance to then give us the feedback on that would be in the larger public review period and meetings that we would have on the, and everybody's comfortable with that?
Just the same as the general public has that opportunity.
I think that's a better way to do it.
Yeah.
As long as everyone's.
I think it's a great way to do it, yes.
As long as everyone's comfortable with that, that's the direction we'll move on it.
Well, that's, Francis, you having?
Yes, ma'am.
In the rewrite or the proposal you get from Clarion,
Yes, ma'am.
did you all address, I made a suggestion at the very beginning when Clarion came, did you all address, properties being, grandfathered in those 50-foot lots?
So, yes, that's, updating any zoning like this, you will create nonconformities is what we call them. And yes, so that is.
So you did address that, and you did address it?
As far as.
You have a.
Well, hold on, Francis, that's outside of this discussion, but it's not, that's pertaining to something else, and we need to vote on this, motion that we have first before we. But I think probably Lee could have some
I can
discussion
have
with you
some,
outside of.
if you want to get with me and address your concerns about that.
All right, any other comments on the motion that's on the floor? All right, all in favor state aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so
All right, so
we're asking
we'll reach out to that steering committee that was assembled and get their comments on it. And that will give us a better direction on what we need to get together for the public review draft.
And I think I understand what you're asking, but he can explain that to you.
Okay.
Okay, the other thing I want to talk about is notification of zoning changes, rezoning, all the things that we do.
Timeline, that kind of.
Yeah, state law really doesn't require us to do anything. They do require the city council to do something. The things that we do, which is posted in the daily, 10 to 14 days prior. We put the placard up on the property 10 to 14 days prior, and we hang a flyer on all mailboxes.
Handbills, we deliver handbills.
Okay, deliver handbills to all properties that are within 500 feet radius of that property.
But all that's above and beyond.
That's all above and beyond, but we do hear quite often that people are not notified, and I think we need to talk about what other things that we can do. One thing I recommend, I think the placard is too small. Placard sign that we put out. I would like to see that a bigger sign. I forgot, I think it's 9 square feet. Isn't that what a standard house for sale sign is? I'm not sure. I think it is. It's about 9 square feet. But, I'd like to see us have a sign at least that large.
There are, so there's standard sizes for signs, so what we would have to do is we'll have to work with the sign shop
Okay.
and see, kind of let them tell us what they can do. And, but yes, that does seem to be coming up, that the sign may be too small and could be missed by someone driving by. So if this body would like us to, we can explore larger signs.
Right. So, and this will be something else that they can bring back to us, you know, next month of what.
It would contain the same information of what we currently have out there, which is, you know, this property is looking to be rezoned, and it would say from the current zoning to the new zoning.
Right. Then the other thing that I recommend, and we've done this some in the past, is that, not necessarily our agenda, because the agenda is not complete many times to 4 or 5 days before this meeting. But the items that are on the agenda, you know, we have when we have zoning committee or technical review, and those things, this, Emmy, our communication specialist, could post those on Facebook, on our website, on any community Facebook post. And I think that would be a good thing, that she just go ahead and post those things.
Exactly what I was thinking. And also, you can do a link in bio with more information, like
Right.
on social media, whether it's Instagram or Facebook.
Yeah.
We want more people to be on social anyway.
Right. So, you know, we're not trying to hide anything, so let's, you know, come into the new times and do more things. So I would like to ask that you come back to us next month with some things that, like this, that we could do different.
Some
than
ways
would
that we
expect.
can post the items on social media. Yes, we can work with Emmy on getting items posted, you know, through social media. Might be a good way to, you know, get a larger audience on some of these. You know, that's something we can definitely, I think that's a.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else along that line?
So just one question. What is the radius that
500 feet.
500 feet?
Mhm.
On the edge of the property, not a central.
Yeah, it's not a point and you go out, so you take the boundaries of the property and go 500 feet from there.
So I think we hear from times about people that say they're not notified, they're beyond that 500 feet.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
and when you're dealing with property, you know, 500 feet can be a little deceiving, you know, but you know, that's the generally accepted standard of, you know, delivering handbills. That's the procedure that we've always adhered to as a department, to my knowledge, as, you know, long as can be remembered at this point. But yes, you know, posting it on social media, you know, would potentially open it up to a larger audience and get more eyes on, you know, the things going on in the community, I think, which I don't think is ever a bad thing.
Yeah.
So on the delivery, is it always put on the front door or on the side
It
door?
depends. A lot of times, ideal scenario, someone's home and you can hand it to them, you know. But what we did now, because we got some complaints in the past, what we have moved to now is we have door hangers. And so we've bought plastic, like you see, you know, I don't know if you ever get, you know, menus hung on your door.
Yeah.
They come in a little plastic sleeve.
Right.
So that's what we have moved to try to ensure that they stay there longer, you know.
Okay.
It's a paper flyer, just standard paper, so in the elements, you know, it's in hopes of, you know, preserving it for longer, to make sure, you know, somebody doesn't check their front door every day. If they have a garage, they might go out, you know, it might be out there for 2 days. That's the hope of moving to that, is maybe they're preserved a little longer, they won't be as susceptible to blow away. Or
Now, have you used that yet, or that's just something you're
that's
about?
something we are moving to now,
okay.
and so that's what will be going forward, because there have been, you know, some complaints in the past few months. So
is the protocol, if you have to leave one hanging, you put it
we
on
will
the
leave
front-
it. We
on
will
the
leave
front?
it going forward from now. That's what we'll be doing, is we'll leave them on the front door to the
Okay.
greatest extent possible. And that's what our procedure going forward is going to be in, you know, like I said, and that, like I said, includes, it'll be in that plastic sleeve. Like I said, hopefully that will ensure, like I said, the thing we have is we gotta remember that everything we do along those lines is money that is incurred by the city. For rezonings, we charge $300, which is typically enough to cover the advertising associated with, and that's eaten up by running the ad in the newspaper most of the time. And sometimes the city even loses a little money in that process. But, you know, there's also, we don't want to charge too much for somebody wanting to rezone. You know, we don't want the fee we charge to be prohibitive to somebody wanting to do a rezoning of their property.
But at the same time, we have to charge enough to have the means to notify the public.
And so what we look at doing is low-cost options we can do. Like I said, we found those door hangers, 2,000 for around $30. So, you know, which surprisingly doesn't go very far. Some of these rezonings require us to put up 100, 200 of these. So, but our hope is going forward, maybe this will ensure that if someone is at home, the handbill survives longer until someone can get to it.
Okay. Well, then what we're asking is for the planning department to come back next month
With a larger sign?
well,
concept.
not just a larger sign, everything of what we're gonna do to notify, that we can vote on and say, this is our policy as the commission, this is what we want done.
Yes, and of course, everything we do, we'll have to verify with legal.
Right, of
And,
course.
but yes, we can bring you, you know, some things that we are looking to do. And the biggest thing, I think, is gonna be a larger sign.
Well, that door hanger thing is pretty big too.
And I think so, and like I said, that was you know, hearing complaints and feedback, I think that was a good low-cost solution that we were able to come up with.
And then getting the communication specialist to post it everywhere that they can, that would be good too. Anybody want to add anything else to that?
Just, to understand with the door hangers, you previously put them on the mailbox and now you're gonna put them on the
Not all,
front door?
you know, like I said, the goal with a handbill is always, you know, hopefully someone's home. But that's, like I said, you know, we operate, you know, 9 to 5 business hours, just like most people are going to work.
Yeah, but her question is, what did we previously do?
Most of the time, if someone is not home, like I said, we did not have a great way, you know, sometimes they would be, you know, stuck in a door, a screen door if possible. If not, sometimes they would be tucked behind the flag of the mailbox in hopes that they would survive, you know, long enough out there to be picked up by the homeowner.
Yeah, I got one stuck behind the flag of the mailbox. It was in plastic. And the mailbox is something that,
Well, what we're moving to, like I said, and after hearing all the discussion around it, and like I said, you know, I took over the department less than a year ago, and so we're changing as a department and looking at things that may or may not have been working in the past and how we can improve our, you know, how we can improve our, for lack of a better, you know, term, our customer service and making sure we're doing everything we can. And I think one of the biggest things is gonna be, we're gonna be, you know, hanging them on doors. Like I said, I think that's gonna be a better way.
and the reason why I bring that up is we never go through our front door.
That's-
We always check the mailbox though. We check the mailbox every day. We never go in the front door. And a lot of people, I think, drive into their garage or they check their mailbox and they don't go through the front door, so.
And therein lies the problem, because.
That's a good point.
And it's a
That's
problem.
why I asked the question, because we do the same thing at utilities, and people say, well, I want to go to my front door, well,
And it's,
but we need to develop a standard of what we're gonna do where we can share it and people know what to expect.
and it's a problem that everyone who is hand delivering things in the middle of the day like that is going to encounter is where's the best place to put this
Yeah.
thing where it's
Yeah.
going
I
to be
would say
seen.
my vote
But-
would be for the mailbox.
But also, you know, another thing we have to consider is, you know, like I said, it's a piece of paper. So where can we also place it that it's going to withstand the elements the longest until somebody can get out there to find it?
Yeah.
You know, so those are some of the things we balance when we're, you know, handing out these
Well,
things.
it's hard to put them to they have to do this with it, because every situation is gonna be a little different.
And every house is different.
You know, could be
So-
apartments that don't really even have a mailbox, you know. Yeah. Okay, so we're asking him to come back with that for us next month. Anything else somebody wants to bring up? Okay.
Do you want a motion for that?
Well, what I'm asking is for him to bring us something.
I'll
But-
just bring you,
Yeah,
bring
I'm-
you some proposals of kind of what our procedures are gonna be, and I'll see if there's enough time. Sign shop stays pretty busy, but I'll, you know, see about, you know, what we can do about a larger sign,
Yeah.
and hopefully bring you, if I can't bring you, you know, I don't wanna have to.
You said just a standard size, we're not gonna create something.
No, because that'll be extra, you know, it's all about, you know, cost and, you know. Yeah, there's material problems, so we're kind of,
But
we'll look
we're
at.
asking him to bring us something next month that we will vote on, that this is gonna be our procedure. Okay?
Yeah, I did have one thing I wanted to
Okay.
mention. I might have just missed it on the other, I didn't get a motion in a second. I didn't notice till after we did the vote.
Okay.
Do you think we should just,
Oh,
in case, do
I think it was you and her, right?
I think we did.
okay, we did.
Gary and, yes,
Yeah, they did it before the discussion.
Gary and,
Yeah.
okay,
Yes.
okay.
yeah, we got, that's the one I couldn't remember if we got it
Yeah,
either.
it might have just been in the middle of all the discussion.
Okay, we are adjourned.
Great.
Yeah, I hear you. Anytime, I
Kent, I think that was yours.
Yeah, it was, yeah.